What is going on, everyone? My name's Boit, and I'm back with some more Age of Mythology, the Titans action. Well, kind of the Titans action. You guys asked for it. I saw the comments, and I've decided, yes, I will give you my Dictator patch. What is Dictator patch? Why am I calling it the Dictator patch? Well, this is how it generally works. Community members / random assorted members of the expert team / the dev team get together. They have a conversation about which changes should come in. One person says one thing, the other person says another thing, and then you end up getting nowhere in the end of the day. Or if you do get somewhere, it's a very, very big compromise and really no one's happy. So instead, what I suggest, and I'm sure that none of you will agree with me because already you've looked at potentially what's in front of you and you're saying, this guy's crazy. Just one person gets to make the changes, and then eventually we actually get somewhere that at least one person will be happy with, right? If one person's happy and everyone else is miserable, that's better than everyone else being miserable. Anyways, so like I said, this is a Dictator patch. You don't get a say, so feel free to express your opinion. You could protest, you can write, you can do whatever you want, but in the end of the day, this is the patch you're getting. /S. It's a made up patch. You're not going to see this patch. But anyways, all right, let's talk about the why. I mean, I'm sure most of you can read, but let's talk about the why. First off, with Greek actually, in its current state, are a little bit too strong. If I am being 100% serious, Greek are a little bit too strong. However, Greek also have its own issues, and I want to address them while fixing the problems. So one big problem that I noticed with Greek is that their early game against civilizations is too strong compared to their late game. So, for example, if you take a look at this first change where I've effectively nerfed the hero, the classical hero, and the archaic hero that you get, I've nerfed their damage down against human units, and I have buffed it against myth units. So the archaic hero hack damage is going from 9 to 7, and the damage versus myth units is going from 63 to 77. And you can see the same thing here for the ranged hero, where it goes from 8 to 6 and from 56 up to 66. The reason for this mostly is for the Greek versus Atlantean matchup. However, you will note that, or you should note that there are also issues with Greek versus Egyptian. If the Egyptian player decides they want a classical fight, that Greek hero is just way too strong against all of the the Egyptian classical army. The next change here is a little cheeky change here for Poseidon, mostly Poseidon, Zeus, maybe even Hades a little bit. This one helps out the Greek in the classical age, but hurts them going on into the heroic age with the Hippikon. So what generally happened, what happens in the current patch is that the Hippikon train time in the classical age is 20 seconds. It goes down to 15 seconds in the heroic age. I don't think this makes sense. It doesn't happen for any other unit. And this unit, I don't see any real reason for it to be at 20 seconds in the classical age. It seems like it's just a little bit too slow, to be honest, for it to really do all too much in the classical age. For example, the raiding cavalry is at 18 seconds, and I don't see much difference here. I think that these units should be coming out at roughly the same period of time. If the Norse player wants to win with raiding cavalry versus Hippikon, for example, they need to have more raiding cavalry than the enemy Hippikon, and they should do that by producing more, not by the train time advantage that they have, which is definitely possible even without this nerf. So this is a slight buff to the Hippikon early, and then a slight nerf later. There is a reason for this, for the later nerf, and that is mostly just due to the Greek versus Egyptian matchup, where it feels like the Greek player, when they're in the heroic age, can just spam against the Egyptian player who's only got the one Migdol trying to make their units, and it doesn't feel like it's possible for the Egyptian player to compete against that spam war a lot of the time. I've been noticing it recently, so that's why that changes there. Finally, a nerf to Poseidon and to Hades is that the population of the Militia and the Shade is going from 1 to 2. I think you can all kind of understand why this is happening. The Militia is too strong in the late game. 100%. I don't feel like anyone should be disagreeing with this. You can still push above the pop cap, but then you're going to have a Militia left over. It's not like this is going to be too much of a nerf. I feel like Poseidon's still going to be strong, though maybe it's too big, but that's where we're going. Shades as well. This one is mostly aimed at early game Hades, but this, you will notice this coming into the late game where maybe the Hades is going to want to delete his shades or something, or maybe delete the temple or something like this. I don't know, but it's mostly aimed at the earlier stages of the game where there's no real negative to fighting. Hades is just wanting to fight so much in the classical. It just doesn't make sense for him as a god, in my opinion. Anyways, moving on. With Egyptian, what I've tried to do here, you can 100% disagree with me, but this is just where I'm at. What I've tried to do with the Egyptians is I've tried to make it so that basically we're taking some damage, some power out of Hathor. Hathor is, I think, too strong. Actually, there's one more change I want to put in here now that I'm thinking about it. So let me just add that one in. We're just going to add it down here. This is one that I have forgot about. Persukos. Go from 200 gold to 250 gold. You will understand that coming up. I'm going to have to chuck that up. I'll reformat. But anyways, we'll get there soon. So Sekhmet is rather useless at the moment. The problem isn't that Sekhmet is, even with these changes, Sekhmet still might not be picked. But what I've done is I've given a little bit more power into Slings of the Sun. This won't make Slingers useful. I can't see this making Slingers useful. You get 1.8 bonus damage versus infantry with the Slingers. So they are sitting at, I believe the Slingers base damage is 3. So they're going to be at a base damage of 4.8 versus infantry, and that's pierce. If you compare the Slinger over to the Toxotes, for example, the Toxotes sits at a base damage of 6 or something like this. So they're still away. The Slinger is still away behind the Toxotes. Though this might be enough to allow the Slinger to kind of not function as an archer per se, but you may be able to go Slinger Chariot Archer with this upgrade now. Maybe, just maybe, obviously, cavalry will destroy that composition, but you may be able to go Slinger Chariot Archer here and not have as bad of a time as you normally would. It might. I'm not sure. This is just a guess. So the things we've taken out of Hathor is Sun-Dried Mudbrick is going to be losing its bonus to hit points. This is actually an overall change where I'm trying to take some power out of the buildings to make the game less slow when you're actually fighting with stuff. So Sun-Dried Mudbrick loses the hit points, but also becomes a little bit cheaper. So if you think about what Sun-Dried Mudbrick actually does, it's only going to be reducing the cost of building the buildings. So for example, you build one Migdol, it goes from 300 gold, 400 gold, 400 gold, it goes down to 360 gold. So you would have to build, I can't do that math, like four or five Migdols ish to pay for that into that cost of the wood, and then you're going to be in full profit after that. So it's a bit of an investment technology now. Medjay goes from 30-second lifespan increase to a 15-second lifespan increase. I think that's self-explanatory. I think that this technology shouldn't exist. I considered getting rid of it, or maybe changing the lifespan into like an extra damage or something like that. That might be the way to go. Maybe not extra, maybe extra hit points or extra armor is probably a different way to go than this, but I'm going to leave it with the lifespan now. And then finally, bone bow, we're getting rid of the range boost, which is, I think a lot of people actually think that this is actually a dead technology, because the range is not necessarily going to help out, because the archers are pretty inaccurate out far. It's not exactly how it works, but the point here is that plus 10% Chariot Archer DPS is going to be so much more useful than the plus 4 range. So this one is just a little bit of a help along the segment. So for the segment users out there, they're going to be happy. I still think that Hathor is still going to be the pick. And then also, remember, we got that Katoskopos plus 200, plus 50 gold on the Katoskopos there. I think that change is fairly self-explanatory. That unit is way too cheap. If we continue down here, this one you guys are going to hate. The Greek players out there are going to hate. This is a bonus damage versus Katoskopos, and it's actually for the Pharaoh. Oops. It's actually for, if I can figure out how to edit my thing, as I edit while I'm doing the video, very professional. This is actually for the Pharaoh as well. Pharoah+Priest. Bonus damage versus Katoskopos. Why? Because people are annoying AF. You will notice that this change also comes in for the Norse as well, but Pharoah+Priest bonus damage versus the Katoskopos plus 200%. Now, both of these have very low base damage. So this plus 200% only really gives them something like 6 damage per second against the Katoskopos in the Archaic Age. So if you do want to come in and harass my priest or harass my Pharaoh, you will be taking quite a bit of damage there onto your Katoskopos. You will be able to get a little bit of harass off still, but this should dissuade that type of play. I think that it's a toxic play and shouldn't really be in the game. That's why this is here. And then finally, Skin of the Rhino is going back to the temple away from the town center, but the armor is getting nerfed to 10%. This technology is stupidly strong, and the Vubly balance patch team thought that it would be a good idea to just nerf it by putting it into the town center. That effectively lowers the Ra's villager production. It costs like 50 food plus 2.5 villagers, but that's neither here nor there. I think that the stats are the problem really with this tech. So we put it down to minus 10%, still in the temple. Everyone's happy. You can still kill the villagers. They're a little bit stronger, but they're going to die a little bit easier than before. And then you don't lose out on that villager production. Anyways, okay, so Norse, you'll see the Ulfsark bonus damage versus the Katoskopos is at 300%. This is a lot more than the Priest and the Pharaoh. Plus the Ulfsark, I think, has a little bit higher base damage than the Pharaoh and the Priest. This is because the only time you ever really harass an Ulfsark is on the dock, on say Anatolia or on Midgard, and it's silly, and it shouldn't be something that should be allowed, because man, I'm just playing. Let me just play the game. Let me just put my dock up. If I hit Alt S and I try and build the dock takes X amount of seconds. The Katoskopos gets to do X amount of damage to my Ulfsark. I'm not going to be able to get my house, my dock, and everything else up without having to also build myself in a little box to prevent the Katoskopos from actually coming in and fighting it. So effectively, this one's here to say the Ulfsark can turn around and smack that Katoskopos back and have no problems there. All right, so now we've got Frost. This is a nerf to Frost, no longer affects villagers. People use Frost on a location where there's an army and villagers, and I think that it's too strong, and now that's not going to be possible. So what this is a nerf to using Frost in an aggressive way with no intention to do anything with it apart from just immobilize your opponent for a period of time, plus make them lose economy. So This is actually going to still be a really, really good way to use Frost aggressively. You're actually going to be able to catch the villagers out as they're running. So say your enemy's on a gold mine and they have their army there, they have their villagers there. Normally you would want to Frost this because you're going to hit the villagers. But instead you don't hit the villagers, but you're going to be able to kill the villagers. So there's still going to be play here with Frost. Frost is still going to be strong, but that broken play of just, oh, he's got an army plus he's got 20 villagers there. Let me Frost that and let me deal 60 seconds worth of 20 villager damage or whatever. Like you're going to lose, they're going to lose whatever the math is on that. 60 times 20 is roughly the amount of resources they're losing, which is quite a lot if you ask me. And then we've also got the Frost Giant. Yep, this unit is too cheap. It's going up to 250 gold. It's also going up to 25 favor, but the Frost Giant now has a range on his special. This means that he can freeze flying units. So the Rock will be able to be frozen. Stymphalian Birds will be able to be frozen. Phoenix, etc. All the flying units. So now Norse has got a counter to flying abuse, but they do need to go through Skadi to get this. So Loki's still hurting a little bit against that, but you know, beggars can't be choosers. This is the best. Loki can still get Frost Giants from going through hell, so he's actually not out of the game, so no problems really there. It's just that he needs to get to the Mythic Age, but honestly, Loki players, it is what it is. Anyways, finally, or not finally, Winter Harvest is going from 200 food to 200 food plus 100 wood. This technology is better than irrigation, yet cheaper than irrigation for some reason, so we're just going to be putting that a little bit more in line. I probably could get away with making this 150 wood and it would still be, and it's still the pick here, but 100 wood here is where we're going to go. And then finally Ring Giver. This one I think that most people will like. It's a bit of a rethinking of what this technology should be. When you look at what Njord is effectively a copy-ish of Dionysus. So I'm going to take the Dionysus Thracian horses and make that this kind of similar thing where instead of it just being Jarl hit points, it's also going to be giving raiding cavalry hit points. So you get a little bit less on the Jarls. So you get 20% extra cavalry hit points for your raiding cavalry and for your Jarls. So your cavalry are going to be just a bit stronger. I think the Norse players are going to actually be pretty happy with these changes if they are honest to themselves. This really this change in particular is going to make them much happier. All in all, even though they're going to be losing out on a little bit of resources. Finally, a nerf to Odin, slight nerf. Instead of 2 ravens spawning when the temple builds, 1 raven spawns and then the second one spawns 4 minutes later. So you don't get quite as much consistency with your map hacks. And then finally, this one here, I mean, this is my Dictator patch, so I get to say what I want. But this one you wouldn't see in a normal patch, but it's my patch, so get wrecked. Balder, Ragnarok now spawns 30 Rag heroes for 90 seconds at your cursor. You need line of sight. They take 3 population, but obviously you can exceed your population limit with them. So you're going to be going from 160 pop to 250 pop when you cast them. So that's that. It's effectively just Ragnarok, except your villagers don't turn into Rag, but it lasts only 90 seconds. This is really strong. If anybody thinks this is a nerf, think it's different. It's not a nerf. It's a different direction for Ragnarok, and I think that Norse players will be very happy with this when they get to use it. Not only that, we're changing Fimbulwinter as well. It now comes with 4 charges with 0-second cooldown. Each charge spawns 1 pack of wolves at your cursor for 30 seconds. That location becomes similar to like a tornado or an earthquake, so you can't use the same. You can't use any god powers in that location. I didn't write that properly here, but that's the way it would be done. So you get to effectively use Fimbulwinter 4 times whenever you like. So you could use it all at once. You could use it in the same area every 30 seconds. So you could effectively have 2 minutes of 8 wolves running around in one area, and that's what Fimbulwinter. So it is similar to Ragnarok, but it's going to be functioning very differently, obviously. So maybe Fimbulwinter is dead. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Definitely something for Loki to still consider. But maybe Rag Heroes, this one it might be too strong at 30 Rag Heroes. It might need to be 20. But I don't know. I would have to wait and see on that to make another choice. But I'm a grateful dictator. I'm a giving dictator. I'll happily nerf something if I've done something stupid or change something. Anyways, Atlantean automatons go from 81 gold to 100 gold. Titan Shield is going from minus 15% hack and crush vulnerability to minus 10%. This one is in line with the Egyptian one. With this sun-dried mud brick, taking away that power of the buildings in the late game. Gaia channels no longer affects caravans. This is stupidly broken and should not be a thing. Gaia does not need to get a bonus economy in the late game there at all, in my opinion. And that's why we're here. Finally, this is some overall changes. The wall upgrades are getting a big nerf. Everything is going to be giving 300 HP instead of 600 HP. And then also, we're going to have no technologies affect the Titan. This makes every Titan able to be equal. So, for example, you're not going to have bonus myth unit damage on the Titan. You're not going to have regeneration on the Titan. You're not going to have hit points on the Titan, etc., etc. No technologies affect the Titan. And then finally, destructive god powers, earthquake, tornado, yada, yada, yada. The god power restriction zone is increased, effectively meaning restoration can no longer hard counter destructive god powers. That's the patch. If you guys enjoyed this video and all the other good stuff, then hit the subscribe button. If you didn't enjoy my patch and you want to tell me how stupid I am, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below, or come over onto the Discord and have a fiery debate about everyone about how stupid Boit is. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.